Welcome, dirty peasants, to the Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. Today I'm your host, Impact, and joining me today we have Nick.
What's up, people?
Pickle.
Hey.
And Sunsfury.
Hey, hey, hey!
And today's episode 61, and we're going to be handling a sleepover to end all sleepovers and a day at the aquarium. And yeah, so oh man, I love both of these episodes, so I'll give a little summary of each. So let me just get the credits here. So Sleepover to End All Sleepovers was directed by Kyler Spears, written by Michelle Cabin, storyboarded by Eddie West and Alex Kwan. So Sleepover to End All Sleepovers is a pretty simple plot. Essentially, Anne and Marcy want to have their first sleepover in Amphibia in a long time. And they bring Polly and Sprig with them as well and go through all kinds of hijinks in the castle and stuff. They realize it's only like 9 p.m. and they realize they have to do something crazy. So they take Sasha's advice for some reason and decide to go into the basement. They meet up with a bunch of, as we know now, the shadowfish. And they kind of cause all kinds of chaos in the basement and stuff. Eventually they defeat them with a little bit of mirror action. They write their name in the books of losers. Olivia scolds them to actually get back up and go meet up with the king. And that's Sleepover to End All Sleepovers. It's a pretty simple, like, more chill episode, but there's a lot of, like, hints to lore stuff, too, so. Going into general thoughts here, Pickle, what were your, like, general thoughts of the Sleepover to End All Sleepovers?
Genuinely a great episode. We get a lot of really funny gags and interactions because this is one of the few episodes where we just get to see Marcy, Anne, and the planters bounce off of each other. And it also does some, like, important lore building. It sets up a lot of stuff, especially for, like, the finale, even. Kind of sets up a lot of Andrea's stuff that becomes more clear later. And I also really like how it, even though Sasha isn't there, it's kind of an important episode for establishing how Anne and Marcy might have acted with Sasha. We never really get to see much of that, but this is kind of allow yourself to fill in the gaps.
Okay, thank you, Pickle. Sunsfury, what were your thoughts in this episode?
Oh, goodness. Well, like, that's funny, because when I first watched this episode, I thought that the various hints that we found, the various creatures and everything that we found, was vaguely going to be a one-off thing. Like, it may be fun to theorize about, but, like, not ultra serious. But, I mean, we all know how that turned out, for sure.
Yeah.
But I loved the exploration of just kind of the trio's relationship and a bit of the retrospective that we got in that episode. And I like seeing this first stage of trying to move on and sort of connect as different people, like the different, just kind of coming into that relationship from the new angle of the new Anne, especially, even though Marcy hasn't quite gone through her full character change just yet.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you, Sunsfury. Nick, what were your thoughts in this episode?
I mean, just, banger, man. I mean, like, I don't just love Sleepover than Old Sleepers, but also like David Crane. Like, I just love this pair. I love how they act with one another and just, yeah, like it's not even just a really fun episode of seeing, like, the planters and Marcy interact with one another. It's also just, my God, just from the fact that we've finished the series now, we've seen all of it, and we have this episode that shows us just how deep Amphibia's planning goes, right? Just how it basically sets up the entire second half of the story. Like, yeah, all the lore that would be exploring, like, all that's just, set up right here in, like, the literal halfway point of the series. I know there's technically like only 19.5 episodes in season 3, but like I mean, I'm rounding that up, and we have like let's just say 60 episodes altogether. I mean, this is like episode 30 or something, right? And it's just crazy. Like I don't know, I just like this is one of my favorite things about Amphibia, like how it shows it's more than just this funny frog show. How there's so much planning and thinking and development that goes into executing the story really well, and this is absolutely one of the biggest things you can point to. And like, there's just so many things you can respect an episode like this for, and we'll go into that. But yeah, I just hats off to them for this one.
Thank you, Nick. For me and my thoughts of this episode, that was great, by the way, Nick. For my thoughts on this episode, so Sleepover, the End All Sleepovers is like this is like my favorite comfort episode of the whole show. Every single time I'm like, man, I'm having a shit day, I'll just go and watch this episode specifically. And I think, like, it's also why I'm glad I'm able to host this one, because I fucking love this episode. I think, like, Sleepover, the End All Sleepovers, to me, it's almost like perfect Amphibia, because it almost embodies everything I love about this show. It has a perfect balance of giving us this fun character exploration with Anne, Marcy, and their relationship with Sasha and their influence on them. But it also gives us like really cool lore to get us into, to get us excited, to make us guess, to make us ask questions. It's a perfect balance of moving the story forward while giving our characters something to do and to latch onto that will be super essential later on. To me, like, it kind of feels similar to the Best Franz in that way, where we have like the Sasha influence, the peer pressure kind of idea with the Book of Losers and such. That like, I love when episodes have Sasha's presence in the episode itself, and like you can feel it in Anne and Marcy here. And the character interactions between Anne, Marcy, and the Planters is always super duper fun. So this episode's a banger, man. I love the Sleepover and End All Sleepovers. This is a great episode. So yeah. To get to like the episode itself, we first start off with kind of like establishing shot of Utopia Castle, and Marcy's watering a little plant, right? Olivia knocks on the door, she comes in, and the Planters start running in and start screaming about like a sleepover, and you have Olivia who's 100% done with this. She does not want to handle a bunch of annoying kids. But yeah, and
I'm sorry to cut it, but I just want to say I just love like I don't know. This is like I don't know. I don't even know how to put it all into words. But I don't know. I just love the fact that Olivia was basically forced to like parent them this episode, and she was just done the whole entire time. Like it's just I don't know. Like it's just like one of the most fun parts of this episode. Just having like sort of like adult figure like her just not want to handle this group of kids. Like I don't know how to like describe it perfectly, but like I don't know, I just love it.
Olivia's perfect. Olivia is exactly like on point with anybody who has ever just felt absolutely done with anything in their life. You look at Olivia and you go, yeah, me too. And it's beautiful.
yeah, and like because they have such
Olivia
like
makes a great stream.
yeah. I think what makes it so great is just like because Anne and Marcy and the Planters are way more obnoxious in this episode. They're like it's amplified by like 10 in this episode just to annoy Olivia enough. And I love her line about like she's going to get like juice. Like she looks down, like that was great. Like that whole scene just like
Yeah,
you can tell Olivia's
Dude,
just
like-
like, oh my lord, like
yeah.
with any of this.
I feel like that's just like one of Amphibia's like iconic like one of their like iconic jokes. Like I don't know, like before it even like popped off. Like I just Yeah, I just remember seeing that like being one of the more like well-known jokes even outside of the show. Like it was just, I don't know, like yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious too. Just damn, like I don't know, man. Like this episode's just perfect. Like just right off the bat, it just gives you something that 100% makes you want to continue with the episodes.
Yeah, it's like it's great. Just the like, and so if we continue a little bit on, it's like we, excuse me, I'm sorry. Polly and Sprig come in, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is my first ever sleepover. It'll be like formative memories and whatnot." And Anne and Marcy kind of realize like this is their first time ever not having Sasha just tell them what to do 24/7, especially at a sleepover. So they kind of decide to like take it on their own, which it's just something like I really love that they acknowledge. Like Marcy like kind of has no clue like what to do like without just Sasha being like the head of like their whole friend group. It just already, actually I'll save the Sasha stuff later. I'm actually going on a tangent myself. I didn't mean to do that. So, but it is a great line overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anne's like, there could be more than one sleepover queen, which and Marcy's like, no, that's not how that works in a monarchy. You know what I mean?
That's another meme that I think managed to make its way outside of just Amphibia.
Yeah. I've seen it pop up around there too. Yeah, it's like, I see, like, just look at this fucking episode. Like, we're only like what 2 minutes in, and we already have like 2 iconic jokes just drop like that. Like, I swear, man. Like, this episode just—that's how you know this episode did so many things right. Like, oh, but I also just wanted to mention, I just love like that one small scene of Pop Up instantly making them uncomfortable when he's about to describe what his personal day is going to be like. I just love that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that was great in general. It's a good way to just get him out the episode too. Like,
yeah.
Just slam the door in his face, like he's out, like he's not coming back in this episode anymore, and it's great. So, and like I just love like Marcy like not getting what Anne's trying to say and just trying to use some logical like like idea with it, because Anne's just trying to say like we can like lead ourselves, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
Marcy it flies right over her head. So I think that's great. Then the entire trio kind of start like, well, not trio, all 4 of them kind of start like, actually even before that they do their little like, I'm not even sure what it's called, like sleepover ritual, like like pajama, junk food, gossip galore, all that stuff. I thought that was cute. That was great. And they kind of established like a sleepover like has to like last till sunrise and whatnot. They can't like ever like go to sleep, and so they try to stay up and do all kinds of crazy stuff at the castle. Right? They're like with the mattress and stuff. They're kind of writing on it. Down the stairs, they're messing with Andreas's clothes. That was really funny. God.
Like, let me just say, like, what the fuck, Polly? Like, what she was wearing, right? like, what the fuck? Like, the crowd. How could you, dude? Like, I just love how an object of such great importance to the series, and Polly was just fucking around with it. And Polly had no clue what she was getting into.
I know.
Like,
imagine she puts on the crown and suddenly she's just the core, and that's the rest of the show.
like,
she talks to the choreo.
With. Like, that's insane to me. Like one of the most important pieces of lore, and Polly was just like, I feel like that's like one of the things I just love about this show. Like, my God, I don't know. It's sort of like how the lore, like it shows us. Yeah, I feel like that's like one of the best things of the Nutopia arc. How like we didn't truly understand what we were getting into when we got to the city. Like, we just saw it as like this amazing, fun vacation for the planters, to be on. We didn't realize just how important and vital all this history to the world was of Amphibia. And my God, Polly's just casually wearing his crown. Like, it's just some kind of joke. Like, she doesn't understand that she just now connected herself to like a hive mind of potentially like hundreds and hundreds of people packed into that. Like, she doesn't know that. And like that's
Yo,
oh my God.
I never even thought about that, yo. Like, even rewatching this episode, I didn't even think like, oh yeah, like the core is right there, yo.
Literally right there. Like, he's like the fucking like she's connected. Like the core could have said something. The core could have been like, "Hey, yo, what the fuck?" Seriously.
The Newtopia arc do be kind of wild on a rewatch.
Yeah, really, like.
Honestly, there's so much that is because it all connects, and you go, "Oh my goodness!" and you spot everything. Oh,
yeah, and like, because this season just gets better and better on a rewatch. Like, season 2 is like, I think each season of the show gets like benefited from like rewatches in general, but like this like part of the show specifically, like even like after True Colors, fans like look at these parts like very differently, and it's like Amphibia just keeps getting better and better the more it progresses, because it keeps constantly changing what you think of the past. Like, even like small scenes with like this with Polly like wearing like the crown, or like what we're gonna see with like near the future, like with the painting and stuff, or the shadowfish. Like, this episode ages like fine wine. Like, every time it gets better and better and better and better every single time. Like, the show drops some new lore or does something new with Newtopia. Like, it's great.
It's the Wally and Ann of season 2.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah,
which is even funnier because it's Mossman continuation.
Yeah, which we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah, like 1000%. Like everything you just said was correct, man. I mean, like that's just I don't know if that's like is that just something unique to Amphibia, or is that something you can like just get from really well planned stories? Because it's like, my God, like a lot of Amphibia, just like the entire series, like you just when you just rewatch certain parts of it, like they're just so much better to you now. Now that you just have like a greater grasp of like, I guess, like what Amphibia is, like what's going on with it. Like there's just, I don't know, there's just a huge boost to everything of the story once you complete it.
Yeah, like I feel like that is a really unique thing just with Amphibia as a whole as a show. It's like, it doesn't really like, yeah, like I can't think of any other show that has that benefit. It's like in general, even like, yeah, I can't even think of any. It feels like something very unique to Amphibia. I'm pretty sure other stories have it too.
There definitely are. It's a matter of solid writing, and it's a symptom of the fact that all of this was planned out. This three arc plan was in existence, and they knew where certain things were leading. So there was a solid plan like lineup for all the foreshadowing. It happens in any other circumstance, especially in, say, films where everything is planned out.
Yeah.
On a rewatch, you notice the foreshadowing much easier, and and you're on the lookout. Your mind is on the lookout for it. But yeah, no, it's definitely not unique to Amphibia, but it is not everywhere.
Gotcha. Okay. So I think if we we keep going with the montage, like they start like shooting. I forgot what it's even called. Like whatever string. I forget what it is.
Yeah, it's like silly string, I think.
I think so. Yeah, whatever Amphibia's equivalent is to it.
Yeah.
At Olivia, and then she starts like
She
doing
whoops
karate.
their asses.
Yeah, she starts doing all kinds of karate on them or whatever. Like,
my God, like to the point where they're just groveling on the ground. Like you can see all the bruises. Like, damn, Olivia. Damn. I mean, I know the show's written by millennials, but damn, relax.
Yeah, this part always kills me because it's like you don't ever expect Olivia to just start beating the shit out of people, but like to a bunch of kids too. Like,
She's like, all right, that's it. And then she just whoops their ass.
yeah, I love like their like poses too when they're down is great as well. Like, and Anne just keeps going. Like, she's like, montage is back on, baby, and then they just, it's great. And it's nice that the show kind of hinted at Olivia being like, I guess more combative. We didn't see that too much in Olivia and Yunnan, you know what I mean? But like at the beginning of the end, she was whooping ass, you know. She was mind controlling and junk. So it was nice.
She's not like a.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
She's not like some of the characters where she's got a lot of combatant training, but she seems to know self defense to an extent.
Yeah. For sure.
Like it really was awesome to like see some of that come back in the beginning and when she was also because if Anna and Sasha didn't even like pair up like that, they wouldn't have won. Like I don't know. Okay, maybe if Anna just went Super Saiyan, probably wouldn't whoop ass in a second, but still not. Like
she would have straight up
I don't know,
killed them.
man. Olivia was whooping some ass before all that tag teaming happened.
Yeah, exactly. I think like if Anne did go Super Saiyan on them, like I'm pretty sure like one punch would have killed them. Like I think she also has to be weary of that. Like with the robot, she could like do whatever, but like with like real people, it's like nah. You know. But if we keep going like with the episode itself, you know, they continue the montage. They're Anne and Marcy are like 2v1ing Sprig in a pillow fight, which seems really unfair. And then like they're going through like the kitchen, I guess. And then and then I think finally they go like and paint like a picture of Andrews with a mustache. Like that was great. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the montage. They kind of like think, oh, okay, like they're all done. Like it's been like it's 12 a.m. or whatever. Like they're good. And then Marcy checks her phone. And it's like, oh my god, it's only 9 p.m. Like, and they have to like stay awake. So like Anne decides to just shake Sprig and Polly, you know. And then they finally decide, hey, like Anne and Marcy bring up the Scare Dares. The Scare Dare challenge. And if they lose, they have to put their name in the Book of Losers. Which I love how like dramatic they are with it. Like Anne and like Marcy's eyes like glow, like that's great. And yeah, they pretty much establish if they lose the dare, like they have to put their name in the Book of Losers. And so like they try to think of one and they can't really think of anything. You know, like because Sasha was always the one who thought of one. Anne and Marcy, I guess, wanted to do it, but like they only did it because Sasha told them to, you know.
That's, I mean, I don't know. I just have to say, like, it's just like super adorable. How just, I don't know. I always found it like adorable how like how Polly and Sprig are basically just, like little children that like that they're like leading along to like learn how to like have this little sleepover. I don't know. I always thought that was cute, but like yeah, just yeah, like it is pretty. It's we're not allowed to go into it. Like I want to like talk about it, but I'm like, no, we can't go into it. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it is pretty damn interesting, just like how much influence she had in this group, like, and the fact that like they can't even like figure out what to do with themselves. Like they have to keep like referencing like, oh, more like smart. She has to, because like Anne's like because Anne's the one who has to be reminded time and time again that Sasha's the one who figured things out for them, and yeah, it does make sense that their dynamic works like that, but. I know we're gonna get into that later, so I'll just hold off from there.
Yeah, I think if one thing I will comment about it, because we'll get to the Sasha influence soon. It's just like, I just like damn it, I want to get into it too, but it's like I already know the whole podcast is gonna be like we're just gonna keep going on it over and over again. So, but essentially, like Anne and Marcy can't think of anything, and then Anne like looks at a mat that Marcy has on her wall of like Utopia Castle, and she looks at like the basement, right? She gets a little paper cut, which I think like I always found that funny. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like symbolism of like this is like a bad place to go. Please don't go do it, like or what. But I always thought that was like a neat little detail.
Honestly, I feel like it is because like don't they already play like this sort of like let me go. Don't they usually play this like didn't they play this like ominous music when they discovered it and like yeah I feel like no because like check it out like Anne's finger like Anne like traces along the bot like yeah we so it's like how they shot it too like so yeah we get a shot of the map and then when Anne like she takes a look at like what's at the bottom it pokes her like yeah it pokes her finger giving her a paper cut so like yeah I feel like you're 100% right like it's supposed to like tell us yeah this is danger right if you go down here this is just danger for you to go to like don't go there.
Yeah, and like and Anne goes like it's what like they do it because it's what Sasha would do, and I'm like slapping myself in the face. I'm like, girl, like you just had a sword fight with this lady, like please, what are you doing? But
wait, I also just want to mention I gotta mention like my favorite part of this scene is always how she forces Polly and Spring to wake up. I don't know why it's always been fun to me, but I love it when the show reminds you that she's like gigantic compared to them. Like she fucking like lifts them up with one hand each, and man handles them. Just look at that fucking like they're dolls. Like they're dolls to her, man. Like it's fucking hilarious.
This is why a 13-year-old girl managed to best like 700 different beasts in hand-to-hand combat here.
Yeah. Holy shit! Like just fucking. Like I love when the show does that too. That's like easily the funniest shit.
They should have followed up on the squeaky toy thing by someone just like picking up Sprig and squeezing him. Cool, but hilarious.
I feel like that does happen, right?
Does it?
Like not here, but at other points in time throughout the show, I feel like he has been squeezed. Just like that.
I think Sasha needed to do it.
Oh, yeah, probably.
yeah, and they decide okay, they go down to the basement, right? And like they're tiptoeing away. I love Polly, like mischievous Polly, she wants to draw on Olivia's face when she's sleeping. That, I love that it comes back in this episode too. They didn't just forget about it. So that was great. And like they go down to the basement, they open the door and like Sprig's like Anne should go first because it was her idea, right? And like and I always just like well I know Marcy goes like you should go down first because it is your idea, but like they all four of them clearly don't want to do this, but they're just moving with the peer pressure of imaginary Sasha. So they're all just going down for it. So they keep going. They find this kind of room of mirrors, right? And I love like Marcy's line about like I forget exactly what it is. I think it's like mirrors can like ward off like malevolent spirits or summon them, and her goofy evil laugh that always cracks me up. I'm not sure what it is. Something about Haley Chu and evil laughs. Like she always does like a great job.
Obligatory Darcy comment.
Yeah, she knows how to bring it, dude. She knows how to bring it.
Yeah.
Haley Chu voicing Bubbly Nerd, someone having a mental breakdown, and like the main villain all back to back, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this was like this was like the moment where like the writers were maybe Darcy came into their head. You know what I mean? Like that's when they probably planned it out already, obviously, but like we're like, oh, what if she was like the villain? Like I don't know, like this. So yeah.
Like, it's I don't know, man. It just like it's just this. Is this just like the power of Amphibia? Like it still feels insane that that's how like the story went. I was so like I don't know. Like I just put myself back into perspective. Of when I was watching these episodes for the first time, and it's like, shit. Like if you told me that I was gonna go this way, I would have called you like a fucking liar, right? Like I would have like never believed you. But guys, like that's just Amphibia for you.
Yeah, just that constant upscaling of stakes to the point where we lead to season 3. And I think like, you know, Sleepover and All Sleepovers is like that awesome middle point where it finds that balance of still having that fun, you know, slice of life kind of adventure, but as we're about to get to here, this major lore element as Anne and Marcy like come to the door, or all 4 of them come to the door, and even though like at this point Marcy can't fully read Utopian, she had to like study up before the temples where she's just able to read it with ease, you know, or at least she has to keep looking at the book to read it in the temples, but they all know it says keep out, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I'm guessing that was like another. Yeah, I mean, we don't have like thumb here to tell us, but yeah, I'm guessing like that was just another like helpful way for people to learn how to like crack these runes and stuff.
Yeah, and I think like
It's also totally not ominous at all.
yeah,
Right, like this. I mean, this
Fish within, huh?
I think like I think in this part, right, the shadowfish are actually like name dropped at the very top. I think you can actually read it on the door, I'm pretty sure. Like shadowfish
Yeah, in the runes.
there.
I mean, they say it says keep out, but it also says the whole thing is shadowfish within keep out. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, because like I only learned that like when Olivia and Yunan came out. I had no clue like the shadowfish were name dropped. I thought that was the first time we ever got them, but apparently it's in this episode. So
I mean, like that's just the lore of Amphibia. Like, what the hell? Like, because I'm telling you, man, like this show, I feel like Amphibia prioritizes so hard that like, pretty much. If you aren't like, you know, having a fan base, because I'm being honest, man, like I didn't even like try to ever pay attention to lore until like I joined the fandom myself, and so I basically just had like it spoon fed to me by just, you know, sort of like spectating over it and stuff, right? And so yeah, like I don't know, I feel like Amphibia has its priorities set so straight with the show that like most of the lore is just going to be like, you know, thrown in the background, and it's up to you like whether or not you're going to catch that, and then it'll give it to you like later on in the series. Like it's like damn, like it's just and like they've been treating the lore like that since season 1 pretty much.
yeah, and I think it's like one of those things too. It like even like Mother of Alms is like a prime example of that, where like you're rewarded very much for like seeing like reading stuff earlier, but like 99% of people don't know about this stuff, including me. Like I had no clue. Like again, I said it before, like I had no clue that Utopia language is even a thing. I thought it was just gibberish. Like I didn't think you could actually read any of that stuff. Like, and if I never joined the fandom, like if I just like watched it on Disney Plus without interacting with anybody, like I still would know the full story without like needing to look anything up. The story gives you just enough so you understand what's happening, but if you're like hardcore, you know this stuff a bit earlier and you get to theorize more. So I like how Amphibia does that.
Yeah, like I just 100% agree with everything you said, because it's just like I don't know, I think that's just something I really like highly value and respect out of the show, just how it like handle its stuff.
Yeah. So okay, so they get to the little like crypt. Not exactly sure what to call it, but it has a lot of like I was about to say tombs, but I guess it's the right way to put it. Coffins. There we go. I don't know how I forgot the word coffins. um, they get inside, and Anne and Polly are like, dare you to like take a picture like next to the creepy one with all the centipedes and stuff. Anne and Marcy like obviously don't want to do this. They're putting their like, but they're like, okay, whatever. Like they do it anyway, and like Anne and Marcy kind of walk through all the sludge, which that's gross. But they take a picture near the coffin, and then like the shadowfish start showing up, like kind of one by one, like outside of the coffins, you know. Um, and and they're pretty much like trying to like dodge them out the way, get out of the way of them. Sprig tries to almost touch one, and then like Marcy immediately like tells him like, "Hey, don't do that," because you know the
Yes.
shadowfish like are eating the bones of the the bones of the frogs that were there, or the newts that were there. Actually, I kind of assumed the coffins are like Andreas's like dead ancestors, right? Or well, I
Yeah,
guess they'd
yeah. I
be
remember.
dead.
I've seen I saw some theories of that too. Like, I think like the number of the coffins match like the number of eyes the core has. So like, yeah, like, I think it could fit. I could see it. Like all
Maybe.
this stuff being locked down together, I could see it.
Okay, because like I feel like the core eyes like I don't know, like I feel like there was always that theory that were like there were 8 people in the core, but it's like that felt kind of like that made the core kind of
It,
sound
like
whack. Like
soften.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it's only 8 people. Like I thought there were like
yeah,
1,000 people in there. Like you know,
yeah.
like
Because I mean, honestly, they said yeah, they said like Amphibia's greatest mind. So I feel like honestly, yeah, to me, it's like it's just generations of like more. It's like yeah, for me, I guess we don't have a clear answer. You know, like maybe that could be like a future thing for that. But like, yeah, for me, like I've always just saw it as like just I don't know, maybe 100, maybe 100. I don't know. Like it's just scooping across all the exceptionally intelligent members of the city. Like I don't know. That's how I always saw it.
I got you. Yeah, it's I think like to go a little bit off like the core stuff for a second. I love the Shadowfish's designs. I'm not sure what it is, but they have like a great balance between like being like looking like you can tell they're not from Amphibia. Like that's the vibe I always got like as soon as I saw that, you know. Like the Mossmen I could like you could like maybe think it's from Amphibia, but like the Shadowfish felt like something really alien and different. I'm not exactly sure what
Yeah.
it is, but like they all look great. Um, to keep going with this scene though, I do love like my favorite joke, like from like this whole episode, like and it's like, are they aliens, ghosts? And Marcy goes like, does it matter? Let's get out of here, Scoob! Like,
Yeah, I always love that.
yeah, like this, it fits so well with the situation, and Marcy's just like reaction itself is just great. Like it ends like what did you just call me? It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going here. They kind of like Anne and Polly and Sprig kind of find the exit. They kind of run through, right? They go see like a garden, and then like they see a mirror room first, and then when like the hell is that? They keep going anyway. We see the shadowfish kind of avoid the mirrors, but then we get to the garden, right? And like Marcy's like, how the heck are these plants growing well in the sunlight? And then we see the Mossmen, And like, yeah, that like everyone I think kind of like once you saw the Mossmen, you were kind of like, yeah, that changed a lot.
Yeah.
Dad, come on downstairs. Yeah.
Like I think like because it made you like kind of think like, oh shit, Wally and Ann is like actually important. Well, it already is. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying like it made you like go back and think like about how important that episode like actually was. You know what I mean? Like I already thought Wally and Ann was like one of my favorite season 1 episodes. So, but like now since you knew it had like lore evidence, it kind of made you like flash back to that episode a little bit, you know? It gave you like 1,000 questions in your head. Like I think like I don't know, it's just like it was a great way to kind of like make you start thinking about how all of like elements in season 1 started to become more of like important to the story as a whole and like maybe like you like at least for me I was wondering like the Mossman was it always there all the time? Was it the one that was we saw in Wally and Ann that was captured? Like so many questions, you know?
Yeah.
So like I just love how we got the I just love how we got that answer too.
Yeah. Sunsfury, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, just kind of going along with it. Yeah, it's really one of those things that makes you start asking a couple questions of just say, this is kind of strange. What is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Because it like now like since the Mossmen seem to be in connection to the Shadowfish, you're wondering like why are all these monsters like in the basement to begin with, like, and then you see like as we keep going like we know this place has to be important, right? We even see like Andreas and a picture and we're like what the hell is that? It's all like slashed up and destroyed or whatever. So all of this is connected somehow, but we're not exactly sure how just yet. So, um, so to keep going here, like they run through kind of the hallway and stuff, and I love that Marcy like instantly wants to like instead it's like she wants to know more about the garden, but like they're in obvious danger, so Anne has to like yank her out of there real quick. So
They just pose so many questions for the fandom immediately.
yeah, I like that Marcy's kind of like a window into that too. We'll get into it like a little bit. She goes like she's like asking like, were those things ghosts? And if that's true, is there an afterlife? Like she's kind of like the fans right now thinking a bunch of like theories or questions or what the hell was that? Like and Anne's not even thinking about that. She just wants to get the hell out of there. Like yeah, but they keep going. They see like we keep going down. We see like the picture of like we didn't know it yet, and like of a frog and that looked kind of like Andreas and a toad. We see like the picture slashed out. Sprig kind of goes like, Sprig goes like, man, someone really hated this painting, and then Polly just like yanks him aside. You know what I mean? Both Marcy and Sprig are both getting super distracted. So. And like I don't really know like the presence of the fandom like too much at the time because again I wasn't really there. I was really like with the Disney Plus stuff. So like I kind of streamed it all the way through. I had my own theories at the time, but it wasn't like in the fandom's kind of reign. But I know like a lot of theories came out of this just in general, right? I'm not sure if people started to give names for any of the three, did they?
Like for any theories regarding like the painting.
Yeah. Like
Oh.
I'm not sure any of like any popular ones like at the time. Like
Oh yeah, I mean there was like Oh yeah, there's some funny stuff. There's like for example, people thought like Beryl was Grime. I remember seeing that, and then there's like there's people thought like Leaf was Sprig's mom. Like that's how I was born, and like
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought
like
Meryl was Grime back in like 2020.
yeah, like that was like an old thing, but yeah.
Got you.
Would have made thematic sense, okay?
Yeah, because at the time we didn't really know anything about like, well, at least for you guys, about like their parents yet until like after the rain shows up. But that's like a whole hiatus away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm just replaying that scene a million times, or like they show off the painting, and then we just see like the dramatic music with Sprig tearing off a part of it, and it's just like, damn it, like just damn you, Amphibia. Like the fact that was like, because like if we just talk about Andrews for a second here, it's just like it's really interesting how like back at this point we didn't have a villain, like right, we didn't have like this, we didn't have an end game villain in mind for Amphibia, right? And then they suddenly introduced this guy, and he had like the most ominous introduction scene out of any other character in the entire show. And they slowly but surely started adding more and more intrigue to him, showing that there was just something bigger going on if Andrew's right. And this is one of those moments, and it's just really interesting to sort of put yourself in that mindset before you knew all this stuff. It's just wow, like it's just I don't know, because I'm just like trying to think about like what the fan was thinking. It's just like you're slowly starting to realize that holy crap, this guy might lead to something much, 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 much bigger than we thought Amphibia would ever get to. Right? It just the more stuff they add to him. So yeah.
Yeah, as that's all happening at the same time as we're also seeing all of this, like, at least surface level evidence that completely the opposite is going to happen, that no, everything is going to work out. We get both sides of it. We're not just being exposed to the, ooh, shady stuff is going on, and only that. We also get to see this, the surface side, and we were able to get into fandom arguments because of that, which is kind of spectacular.
Yeah, this episode in general has like just so much. It's a great halfway point for the season, for the whole show. If you start thinking about it, like it's that kind of like it gives you like a lot of like to chew on just in general, and like it's very quick too. The story doesn't give like a lot of time to these elements. You're like, Matt's just like, okay, let's just like hint at like majority of the lore in the show in like 5 minutes, in like 2 minutes, not even like 1 minute. Like
it's very much similar to how the season 1 mid finale leads into reunion and the whole rest of the show. It very solidly lays down a lot of important stuff that's close enough to the end of the season that you're not going to forget it. But it's self-contained, that it's not going to be like in your face, and it's self-contained enough that it's not going to be in your face, and it won't distract from the rest of the season in a negative way. And the second episode too also does that a lot, although we can get into that later.
Yeah, that's a good point, Pickle. I think like like that's just a solid point there. I think like the only like season finale or like mid-season finale that kind of sort of doesn't like it's like Escape to Amphibia, but Escape to Amphibia is weird because it's like it's a lot more like of a, it feels more like a mid-season, like a season finale kind of vibe to it, to Escape, because like it has to kind of deal with all the other stuff like from 3A. It just concludes that instead of like explicitly giving like super lore hints or whatever that'll lead us to like bigger stuff in 3B, because 3B, I won't go into it too much, but yeah, that's it. But yeah, they keep going, and like they eventually find like they get to Marcy's room. This whole basement led to here. I'm surprised Marcy didn't ask a bit more questions about that, but Anyways, the shadowfish come into the room, and like, I love like, Anne throws one book. It clearly doesn't work. And then Spring and Polly are like, let's just keep throwing more books and see what happens.
Yeah.
like, and Marcy's thankfully smart enough to realize that's not going to do anything. So she's not, like, joining in either. Like, but then, like, eventually, Sprig finds a mirror and accidentally flashes, flashes a light towards one of them, and it makes them physical. And Anne and Marcy kind of, like, figure it out together, like, what exactly is happening when the mirror, like, hits one of the shadowfish. And then all four of them kind of, like, actually, before we even get to that, like, I love that little, like, talk with Anne and Marcy. It's cool to have kind of both characters kind of figure stuff out together. You don't really have that happen that much. Usually it's like Marcy, like in Scavenger Hunt, you had like Marcy, like what's the word? Like, you had Marcy just kind of figuring stuff out, and Anne would kind of just follow suit. But I really like here that, like, you have, like, both of them kind of connecting the dot. I think Anne goes, like, both hallways were, like, filled with mirrors to, like, trap them in there, and then, like, Marcy goes, like, it makes them physical. Like, I love that stuff. Like, I wish we got more of that, of, like, Anne and Marcy kind of being on the same playing field. You know what I mean? That they can both kind of figure stuff out together. I don't know. I think that was great.
No, yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, these two are really fun characters, and it's always just awesome to see them, like, interact with each other, work together like that.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I don't know, because it's like, especially after an episode like Scavenger Hunt, like 1,000%. It's awesome seeing something like that.
Yeah, it's just nice, Anne kind of having, like, I was gonna say that confidence in herself to actually, like, work with Marcy, but I love, like, it's just great, like, having Anne and Marcy be on the same level for at least one time. Like, yeah. I think that's just great, like, it makes Anne feel like, even though she's not the smartest one of the group, she still has something to add to Marcy and vice versa, So to keep going here, like, eventually they're like, everyone grabs a mirror and starts, like, reflecting the light back at the shadowfish, right? And we get this joke about with Anne's, like, hair, right? She's like, hey, was anyone going to tell me I have leaves in my hair? And everyone's like, not now, Anne. That was great. Like, I love them acknowledging, like...
Yeah, I honestly, I both love and hate that joke. Like, I don't know.
You hate that? Okay, I need to hear this.
Yeah, Nick, why do you hate that joke? I'm curious.
I didn't hear you. Okay. It's like, God damn it, Anne, take that fucking stick out of her hair. Like, that's why. Like, every time I hear it, I'm like, Anne, just take it out, please.
Like, till she learns out about the shoe.
Yeah, it's like, because let me just tell you guys, like, it's like, because it's like, I'm already super used to it. I don't even notice anymore. Like, I don't even care about the stick being there. But then, like, it's just the fact that the show brings it up, and it's like, yeah, you guys gonna have that stick removed? You can take out those leaves, like, you know what I mean? Because it's like I already got used to the fact that you guys are never gonna change it up. So why even bring it up? Like it's funny, but at the same time, I'm just like, God damn it.
I think it's just funny to acknowledge it, like, and she never takes it out. I think that makes the joke way funnier. Like,
yeah, like he just goes back to forgetting that she has leaves and like a branch big enough to stick out like that. Like, Jesus, doesn't that scrape against her head? Like, Anne, like, what are you doing?
I think like
Maybe she just accepts it.
I think the crack theory that like her powers combining with the like natural mystic powers of Amphibia causes them to grow in her hair is the best answer.
I just like
Yeah.
to think
No,
it's
like
the
honestly,
same
like
like
I'll
no Nick, you can
like
go.
I'll admit this. I'll admit this. I mean, I can accept the fact that it's permanently in her hair because she looks super badass. Anytime she powers it up and it just grows out like that, you know what I mean? Like that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think like I mean it's funny because this has to be the same leaves and twigs in her hair, right? Like there's no like trees in Utopia, pretty much. So like she's had the same like she can take them out and she'll be okay. Like there's no way they would randomly come back in this place. So I love that she acknowledges it and it still doesn't go away. It's still there. Like she just doesn't remember to take them out. It's great. Um, so we keep going with the episode here. They take out kind of all the shadow fish, kind of put them into the doorway, and they actually stay up for until like 6 a.m. essentially. And like like I said before, Marcy's like questioning like everything that happened, and Anne's not even thinking about it. She just wants to go to sleep. Well,
It's
she
just
does.
Tuesday for Anne.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
yeah, like
like she's already. Yeah, like Anne's already dealt with like classic horror stuff like a couple of times. I mean, she dealt with cannibals at one time, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's just Tuesday for her.
yeah. I just like again, I just love that dynamic of Marcy is like Anne's just chilling, and like Anne, Sprig, and Polly are just chilling, and Marcy is like having an existential crisis. Like, what the hell was in that basement? Like, is there actually an afterlife? Like, I hope we get some of that like vibe in the Marcy journal. Like, so. But yeah, they do that, and Sprig and Polly are like, that was like the best sleepover ever, but they still have to write their names in the book of losers, and then Anna, Marcy, and like start self-reflecting, like they need to find Sasha, and Marcy's like, we will, and like she just knows it, and then Olivia like, I guess this is the point where we can finally start talking about the Sasha stuff.
Before we go down that rabbit hole, I just want to point out some neat foreshadowing in the Book of Losers with all the death symbols next to Marcy's name.
Oh, like I didn't even notice that. Like, wait,
Death related near Marcy's. There's also like more moth symbolism. I don't know, but the whole Marcy has like a lot of moth symbolism throughout her entire story, and moths are like about death and like change and metamorphosis.
okay, I didn't even like.
Yeah, there's all that. Yeah, honestly, I was thinking about that like earlier when we were going through the episode, but yeah, like I know you're talking about Pickle. Like there was like a lot of like there's like a lot of theories on that, and like I think it is like it's. I guess I feel like I'd say I'm on the fence on it, but I am leaning towards it being like true, like an intentional thing that was sort of placed around, but like. Yeah, there is a lot of that. There is a lot of that in Amphibia in season 2, and like I can 100. I mean, honestly, yeah, fuck. I believe I'm back. I'm back in that theory. The moth theory was true.
Yeah, I didn't even like. I feel like I should have mentioned it like during when we actually got like the moth like scene of itself. I guess I just didn't really think about it because because it does fit Marcy's character really well, right? Obviously, with her like dying at the end of, she doesn't die, but like she pretty much does. I mean, she gets stabbed in the chest. Like I don't, that's pretty defiantly, dying. So like, but yeah, that's a really good point. Like with that relating so much to her character arc, especially like, at the end of True Colors, and then Olivia and Yunan, rebirths into something kind of worse. So, so yeah, and then like I said, like they put their names in the book. Marcy says like they'll find Sasha should she just knows it, and like this is like I think the point where we can talk about like Sasha's influence in this episode. I guess like I'm wondering how we should do this, because like I could just make you guys like, well, not make you guys, but I think I'll just go first, and then I'll just like tag you guys in if that's all right, because I think all of us have at least something to say about it. So I guess like for me, like with kind of like the whole Sasha influence of this episode, like I think it's just like I kind of love this because it always gave me Best Franz vibes. You know what I mean? Like where like you can tell like Anne's kind of like influence of her other friends is very like, what's the right word? Like obviously very toxic and unhealthy, but like she can't really figure it out in that episode, or like she doesn't have a name to call it. Like that's why you don't see any of the girls use the word toxic till like 3B, where everyone's kind of worked out their shit. You know what I mean? Like Anne and Sasha worked out their stuff, and like
yeah, I mean that is kind of how it goes.
Yeah, like. Huh. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's not it. Yeah, no, I just want to say, like, yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. I mean, they didn't even realize how, like, yeah, they didn't even know like what kind of words to describe how fractured the relationship was. The problems. Like, they didn't even understand that. So, yeah, like that.
And
yeah, like
that's a common occurrence. You don't quite realize what the relationship is until, like, you don't realize something's toxic until much later on, after you've coped with the fact that, oh my goodness, this isn't happening. Hold on a minute, this was kind of toxic.
yeah.
It's not universally that way, but it definitely happens a fair amount.
Yeah, and like, because like when Sasha mentions like in Commander Anne, like my days of toxic manipulation are over, it was so weird. It always drew me off guard because I never heard the word used by any of the girls. But it's like it's, and like, yeah, and you just see that like presence of Sasha, that peer pressure. She's almost like a ghost, like ever present in like these girls' lives, and it's like you can tell how much it's affected these two so much, and like it's crazy because Anne like doesn't really recognize like, I already said what I about that, but like yeah, I just love Sasha's presence in the episode. It almost feels like she's still there. You know what I mean? Her presence is felt, and it's just great. I love, like, it almost feels like a semi-Sasha episode with how much it relates to like how Anne and Marcy thought about her and how much they relied on her. Like they can't even make decisions about the sleepover, like without Sasha telling them what to do. They have no idea, like, but like it's great. So
It also, it kind of like it goes to show Anne has developed a lot on her own, but in terms of her relationship with Marcy, it's still kind of very similar to where it was at the beginning. Like it's almost exactly the same because they hadn't been interacting this whole time, and that comes out in the episode before when the like dynamic they had conflicts with the way Marcy has grown, and it also comes out here with their sort of, because Anne has learned how to kind of function on her own without the relationship and how to make her own decisions and have healthy relationships. But that relationship, that specifically between Anne and Marcy, and by extension, all three girls, is still kind of in its very codependent state because they haven't had a real chance to work that out. And so it kind of leads into them regressing a bit.
Yeah, and like, damn, that's a good point. Shoot, like, because like, I feel like it's damn, that's good, Pickle. Shit, I'm trying to like say something like for that, but you pretty much said it perfectly there.
Yeah, just one of those big things is that Marcy has not had her core character development yet. That's to be. That's later on. And sure, we've had plenty of exploration of what she's like so far, but she hasn't gotten to that stage yet. And it's really interesting seeing Anne, who has grown somewhat, be affected by Marcy, who has not just yet.
Yeah, and I think you even see that in like their conversation at the beginning, where like Marcy goes like, "Sasha's the sleepover queen, not us. You think you can pull it off?" Like, and like Anne trying to like tell Marcy, "No, like we don't need that influence. We can do this." And Marcy doesn't get it. Like with like the queen joke, like.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say like with the queen joke, and it's like Marcy kind of unintentionally like drags Anne backward, like you know, like
Yeah, like like I think that's easily like that's just like my. I think that is like this is what I'm always saying, man. But like I feel like the trio are definitely at their most interesting when it's like when you sort of see this push and pull going on between them and Anne, because like Anne, like her development is like very forward. Like very rarely does she have an episode that where it's sort of like, oh my gosh, she's taking a step back. I mean, I guess true. I feel like if there is ever a moment where she did take like a giant step back in her development, it was after True Colors, where she had to recover from that in 3A. But like, yeah, for most of the series, it is about Anne sticking with the planters and that helping her improve and becoming a better person. Then whenever she meets Marcy and Sasha, you sort of get to see how they're pulling her away her from her development at times. And like, yeah, this is one of those episodes where we get to see just how much Anne has sort of left that status quo in a way, right? Like the fact that she's like totally prepared to make this whole sleepover work, and Marcy's just there constantly thinking about how Sasha would make this thing work, what Sasha would do, all that stuff, right? Like it's just, and like the show, and my favorite part is the fact that the show never directly calls that out, right? Like it's just like there's this subtext going on with the trio that the show is never direct about until like the second to last episode. Pretty much the second to last episode. Literally the second to last episode. And like, yeah, it's interesting how like I'm about to fall on like another layer of a tangent here, but it is for me. It's just interesting how much a story does sort of change when you notice these things, right? Like all these subtle details going on about the relationship. Also, I'm gonna plug one more thing in, just because I forgot to say before. But yeah, one of my favorite parts about this episode again is how this is pretty much Sprig and Polly's first sleepover, and I just love the fact that like Anne coming into their lives gave them this opportunity to sort of like experience more normal kid stuff, because they sort of have. I mean, they need to have their childhoods stolen away from them, like you were being honest. So I don't know. I'm just really happy they got them. But yeah, that's what I gotta say.
yeah, that's a great point. Like I didn't even thought about that with Sprig and Polly. Yeah, I think like, oh man, like I think it's so interesting too, because you see like a lot of people with Anne and Marcy. Like I wasn't a part of the fandom at the time, but like I can tell from like fan art and stuff or whatever that Anne and Marcy have like this really like. A lot of people considered Anne and Marcy's relationship to be so much better than Sasha and Anne's, and to a certain extent, like they're right, but it's like they're like toxic traits with each other. I think we'll get to that more at Day of the Aquarium, but like are always more like subtle. Like you don't like you have to like really like pay attention with that. With Sasha, it's more obvious from like an outsider's perspective. You know what I mean? But like with Marcy and Anne, it's always like I don't know. It's always like harder to tell. So, um, so
Yeah, yeah, and I totally get you because it's like it sort of is set up that way, right? Like where, I mean, they do it on purpose. I'd say like we're just supposed to like, even when Marcy's like worst moments are shown before true colors, like there's still like that level of deniability. Like there's still that excuse you can give to Marcy. So like I mean, I feel like the reason why it was kind of hard to like put into words before true colors happened is because like they really set it up like that, right?
yeah, it's it is very interesting how well they kind of develop the trio's relationship, even with like one of the girls not here. You know what I mean? It's great. Any final thoughts on like this scene specifically, by the way, or all right? So Olivia comes in and she's got the little mustache and stuff on her face, and that was like the sleepover to end all sleepovers, and like I guess like to go into like final thoughts here. Yeah, I love this episode. This episode always has like it has that perfect balance of lore and like very like deep character relationships with we get to see with Anne, Marcy, and their relationship with Sasha. It gives us like such a strong idea of Sasha's presence in their friend group in general. And it I think to me like yeah, like this is just like one of the peak episodes of Amphibia for me. I always love coming back to this one all the time. Um I guess like Pickle, any like final thoughts?
Um, all around a very good episode. I don't have any more comments for the most part about anything. I mean, I mostly mentioned it already, but I do have to say because it didn't really fit anywhere else. I really like Marcy's shirt. I would buy that. I would wear that. That's basically it.
Thank you, Pickle. Sunsfury, final thoughts?
That's a good one. Uh, it always feels like a bit of a sneaky episode to me. I don't know exactly why, but it just kind of slides in and says, "Hey, I'm really good, by the way."
Okay. Thank you, Sunsfury. And Nick, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like I agree with you there. Like this being peak and like this being an example of peak and feel like yeah, like they're like man, like they're like these specific episodes of video where I'm just like ah damn, did they get that right? Like where you can see where you can sort of like break down in their mind where they're going with that episode and like they just got everything right that they needed to and more. And this is like not just this one, but the Aquarium too. Like these two episodes, they're just prime examples of that.
Thank you, Nick. So I guess now with all that being said, I think we can go to the next episode, which is Day at the Aquarium, directed by Joe Johnson, written by Gloria Shen, storyboarded by Imbal Brenda and Cassie Ward, and yeah. So like to give like a little summary of this episode, Day at the Aquarium essentially, you know, all of our heroes are kind of like came from the sleepover. They're all really tired, and they come to meet Andreas, and Andreas is like, "I know something about the box," and he tells them about like the temples and like how they have to go to each one essentially like to to give power to the gems and recharge the box. Um, but you know, Andrea says they gotta prepare, and Anne is like, and Hop Hop is like, they have to go back to Wartwood to kind of like, because it's harvest season coming up. Anne wants to go with them, but Marcy says, "Nuh-uh, you stay with me." And Anne's like, "Okay, I guess." And then, you know, this is going to be their last time together. They go to the Anne and the planters are like, let's go to the aquarium and not think about it. They try to have some fun, but they end up crying a lot. Eventually, they go to one of the bigger exhibits. They cause some chaos. They get kicked out. Um, and as the planters are about to leave Newtopia, Marcy lets Anne go. And Anne goes with the planters back to Wartwood, and Marcy stays in Newtopia until she gets back to the first temple. And that, in summary, is Day at the Aquarium. And
Well, also, Andreas approaches Marcy with a proposition.
oh, that too, yeah. That is very important. I probably should have mentioned that. But yeah, to give like general thoughts of this episode, Sunsfury, how about you go first?
Oh gosh. I have good memories of A Day at the Aquarium. It's my kind of episode. It's looking at I really like how it just goes into kind of the difficulty of separation and how even how you can go to a place. Oh gosh, lost track of my push to talk. But this really captures one of the key parts of Amphibia, which is the idea of going to a completely new place and initially being feeling like an outsider, and then honestly quite quickly being attached to it. And then when it's time to go, running into that exact same barrier that you encountered coming in. You don't want to leave. You don't want to leave home. You don't want to leave the place you went to. And A Day at the Aquarium is kind of vital for Anne to have that realization of, hold on a minute, I'm not ready to leave the planters. These are too great, but I don't want to do this. And so yeah, I like it. I like it. And there's some interesting bits at the end that feed into all of the future and some future stuff that I think reflects well on this episode.
Okay, thank you, Sunsfury. Um, Pickle, general thoughts?
This episode is just great. It's really funny in the way that it's sad, and then it gets really like actually heartwarming at the end, and then it doubles back down on the sad. And it's just I this is definitely one of my favorite episodes in terms of like episodic sale. I know it's very important, but like the like looking back on all the adventures is just really fun.
Okay, thank you, Pickle. Nick, general thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, God, a day at the aquarium. Like, my God, like, damn, I don't even know where to start with this one. I mean, like, yeah, I already got called out, but screw you. This is another peak of Amphibia. This is another peak of Amphibia. Like, this is honest. Like, yeah, there's a lot to consider right now, but I will say for me, this is what really started to make Amphibia feel so special to me. Like when I really started realizing, what kind of like grand story I was seeing get unfolded here, and like A Day at the Aquarium. Yeah, that's yeah. I even had like a friend ask me one time, like like if you had like what is like your go-to episode of Amphibia that just sort of like describes what you think makes it so special, and yeah, I would A Day at the Aquarium would be mine. Like, would absolutely be mine. Like, it captures like what the heart of Amphibia is. Like these this group of people who came together because of an inciting incident, and like the experiences and love that that'll change them forever. Right? Like, there's that heart right there. Then there's also just like all the intrigue and like their storytelling that Amphibia does. It's also packed in this episode. And there's all just like I could go into more, but I don't want to steal everything away that we're going to talk about here. But like, yeah, this is a very special episode to me. That's always been like that's always just found its place. Like if I ever make a top 10 list, I'm sure like even so, there's so many damn episodes like this will easily make its way into that top 10. Like absolutely. Like this is a very special episode to me. I just love it so much.
Thank you, Nick. And yeah, like for my general thoughts, like yeah, I love the aquarium, especially with with just us having the hardest thing and having to separate to the planters for forever. You know, it's this episode definitely holds like a stronger place in that aspect. I love all the callbacks to like all the season one and even season two adventures. That was great. Um, and not to go like because I'll go into more detail about it in like as we go through, but like yeah, I I love this episode. I love like Andreas and Marcy's little like stuff in this episode. That's all I'll say. But yeah, this episode's very enjoyable. I like it a lot. Um, Now to like finally get into the episode itself. So we first start off with like and the planters, you know, they're super tired and I super tired. Olivia still has like her markings from Polly. I thought that was great how well this episode just smoothly goes into this one. Like it like season two does that quite a bit more than like season one did, where the episodes like scavenger hunt and like planters check in, like it feels like a two-parter, you know what I mean? Instead of like two separate episodes. So like I love that like smooth transition between like this episode and the last one, you know. To keep going, like
Yeah, I am 100% agree there. Like, Amphibia doesn't, like, usually do that a whole lot, but I do, I don't know, it just, I feel like the fact that it's so rare for Amphibia to do that just creates this cool feeling whenever you can tell, like, this episode just picks up right after another. Like, it doesn't really change anything, like, the quality of it, but it's like, I mean, it's still nice.
yeah, and I think like season three does this a little bit more. I think 3A specifically like has a lot more of that like the next episode causes consequences for the next one right after. It smoothly transitions like fight at the museum, temple frogs. That conflict continues from the last one. Fixing Frobo and Terminator, you know. It was something that season two started to do more, and I think it kind of lets you know like that the entire narrative is just a lot more connected overall. So I love that. Um, so to keep going, so they meet Andreas, and he's like super excited, right, to show them anything about the box. I love the Andreas does a little like pog face. He kind of blows the planters to the ground. Which again, I love this detail of like Marcy is like always prepared for Andreas's bullcrap, so like she never falls down. But like, and the planters are always like tripping and falling when Andreas does like anything. Great. So Andreas is like shows them the book. He's super excited and tells them the box was a magical artifact used to travel to different worlds, and that from his people, and they were like peacekeepers and scientists, which
Yeah, very believable. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like, he literally, like, he broke eye contact. He was like, explorers, you could say. Like he was saying,
scientists, if you will.
like the fact he, like, that's when you knew, man. That's when we were like, that's when we were all like, hey, what the hell? Like, wait a minute. Like, that's what we were all like, what's going on here? Like,
I mean, his first line wasn't ominous enough.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it's so, I don't know, it's just so, like, interesting to put myself, like, that perspective again, but where it's like, we just didn't know how Andreas quite fit into the story yet. Like, we knew they were building up a villain, but it's also just like, how does he oppose the gang? Like, we don't know how he we don't know how he opposes, yeah, we get that answer in, like, the first temple, but before even that, like, it took us over 50% of the story to truly understand who was opposing the group, who actually, you know, what again, like, you know what I mean, who was the main threat of the series, like, and like,
I don't know. It's just so. It's always so cool to like look back and see how they slowly built that up with Andreas.
Yeah, and like I think like yeah, it's just kind of crazy like how well that is built up because again, like Amphibia didn't really have like it had Sasha, right? And it was like, but Sasha's not showing up that much. Like she
Yeah.
shows up to be like a Doran and Anne side one time, and then like in True Colors, and then that's it. So like at least when I was watching it, I knew he was like, okay, Andreas is definitely a bad guy, but like I never really thought like I don't know, like Amphibia having a big bad never popped into my head like
Oh,
before.
also, one of the things is that Sasha, like, because we've just gone through Toadcatcher, she's not actually in like opposition to the main squad right now. Like, she's off doing her own thing, and sure, it's fairly villainous. It's still like decidedly separate right now, and the only way that they link up is the incidental. Is, well, at least what we think of is accidentally running into each other, that kind of thing. Whereas Andreas is being built up into a more of a directly tied into what Marcy and Anne are trying to do right now.
Yeah, exactly. And damn, that's a good point, Sunsfury. Shoot. I think like a little off topic, but I just find it interesting. I always kind of think like, with Andreas like not having eye contact when he says like peacekeepers and scientists, if you will. Like Anne and Marcy were probably like slapping themselves like like in the face, like like during True Colors, like they should have noticed this shit like way sooner. Like
Anne's line was like, "We were so focused on each other, we didn't see the real." I don't know. She's basically calling themselves out about being an
yeah,
extremely obvious evil guy.
yeah, and like Marcy should have been the one to notice it first. Like homie made a whole caste system. Like that's like come on, like
Okay, didn't go that.
Marcy isn't always the most moral when it comes to her actions in Amphibia, but that's besides the point. I mean,
yeah.
she could. I think my personal thoughts on it, not even necessarily. I mean, definitely based in canon, but not necessarily even about being canon, more about like being a headcanon. Is that like she, to an extent, knows or could have very obviously seen that Andreas was going to be evil, but she kind of chose to block it out and pretend that everything was going to be fine because she'd rather do that than actually face like the
Reality.
consequences for actions.
Yeah. Um, to kind of keep going, so Andrews explains the box, and we get to see like the book itself, and like a lot of like he essentially explains that like you have to go to 3 temples to recharge each gem, and like once they're recharged, like Anne like cuts them off, like we'll have a way home, and like Andrew's like okay, steal my thunder, and then like shows the book, and like I think this is the point right here where like all the utopian like learning the language and stuff or understanding it really pays off because here like we get like the prophecy but like also like not really at the same time like 99% of people don't know this exists but like it's written like right on the right side there so and like even some information on the temples itself I'm pretty sure like the green one was wit the heart is heart okay and then the fist is strength so yeah
Yeah, like this was yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this is pretty mind blowing. Like, to get the. Are we gonna hold off discussion on the? Are we gonna hold off discussion on the book, or are we like want to talk about it now?
I think we could talk about it now because I feel like we're gonna have a lot to talk about at the end with like in Marcy's tragedy and Anne's whatnot. So
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, yeah, this was just this was just like really mind blowing to get because like this was to me. I know there was like the mural and like in the background of the intro that played every episode, but like this was what was really mind blowing because I feel like the fandom didn't really know where the show is going to go with itself, like what it was trying to build up. Because it was, I mean, I know we had the idea that like obviously they're going to get home by the end of the series, right? Like the plane just might separate at the end of the series, blah 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 blah. Like we always had that in mind, but like we didn't really get an idea of where the story would truly go until like we got this that told us that there was like this greater importance to them being an amphibia, that there's this underground plot that's going on that none of us are even fully aware of, that we don't even fully understand. And like, yeah, this episode, my God, just seeing those translations, seeing it say like, wit, strength, heart, like that was truly just, I don't know how to describe it besides mind blowing. Like Christ on a stick. Like this is like it is absolutely one of the things that created all this overwhelming hype for the second half of season 2. Like now, like that's just how you set up a second half.
Uh, that was so foundational to so much.
Yeah, like I wish I like could be like, yeah, totally, guys. Like I know exactly what you mean, but like I can't because again, like I wasn't a part. I didn't even know this shit existed until like
I mean,
until like again they differentiates it.
were we ever told like actually said out loud with strength and heart, or was that just the symbols all the whole time?
The temples. I mean, next to the symbols.
Do
was
like the
that
temples like
thing.
specifically say wit or that sort of thing?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay, I couldn't remember properly.
Because they say, like,
Yeah,
what is wit without humility? And, like, and at least in the book, it says the actual thing. It's at least in the book. I'd have to actually go look at the transcripts to figure out the more specific stuff.
I think I am starting to remember now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess we can keep moving on. So Anne and Marcy are kind of like, "Woo, let's go to the temples! Like, let's get it!" And then like Anne's just like, "Chill out. Y'all gotta like prepare before you keep going." And then Hop Pop goes like, "The harvest is coming up and they can't miss it. They got to get back to Wartwood." And Anne is firmly like, "Oh yeah, I'll just go with the planters." Like, duh, like that's what we usually do. Like, we always stick together. And then Marcy comes in, and is like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, it doesn't make any sense for you to go with them. Like you just met up with me. Like, um, what is it? I lost my train of thought. There we go. Like the last thing we need to do is like separate again, and she's a little like she's very hesitant. She's trying to make up some like reason to go with them, but Marcy keeps counteracting like over and over again with some very logical like explanation, and then Anne just kind of disagrees, and they're like, they have those the little crying. All the Anne and the planters are really sad, and Anne just is. I love the little joke about the tissues, and yeah, like I guess like I guess I can go on this scene a little bit, just because like I don't know. I always loved like this part of like Anne and Marcy's relationship has always just been so interesting to me. Like Anne is very much like it's almost like I just love like the idea of Marcy just constantly counteracting Anne's heart with her wit. Like every single time Anne like tries to like make an excuse to go with the planters, she even tries like making like a logical reason like that Marcy was doing too. Like she's like, I gotta go get the music box, like right HP. Like I it's such a cool part of their dynamic where like Marcy is taking the lead and Anne is like kind of just like what's the right word, like just being submissive but like in a very different kind of way. I don't know, this conversation was always just so interesting to me. There's so much you can kind of get off of it. uh,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This is definitely one of those Marcy scenes. I think this is like one of those Marcy scenes I was talking about before, where it's like there is some plausible deniability for Marcy, where you can say like, "Oh, nah, she 100% meant well. There's no little manipulation. There's no the like Marcy was there's no alternative. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that, and like if we're being honest, man, I mean like. Marcy sort of like ambushed Anne here with all this stuff, and like, yeah, I mean, and it's like we don't know the real reason why she's doing this. Like, she does want Anne to stay with her, but like, instead of just sort of expressing that to her, she's just like jumping on like the logical side of things, and I just talking with Anne heart to heart here, and I'm like, like that yeah, that's where that does bite her back in the end. We all go to say that, but yeah, like man, like this is sad. Like
yeah.
and having to like because dude, it's like I don't know, like yeah, this is miserable, man. I mean, like especially after like the finale, like this is miserable. It's like, dude, I mean, Christ, like in the hardest thing, yeah, she was very strong about it. Like she was like sure she was crying, there were tears, but she was still very strong about like having to say goodbye to them. But like in this episode, dude, like I mean this is all too much for her. Like this is all way too. You can tell how sudden this is. Like she's just not
Yeah.
ready for something like this, and like yeah, she's just barely clinging to find like any reason to spend more time with her. It's sad. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
No, it's definitely it's not the happy episode, by the way.
Yeah, and like I think like it's just crazy to me like Marcy doesn't really like get it. Like why Anne's like she might like I feel like Marcy might understand like how much of a relationship Anne has with the planters, but I feel like at this moment she's kind of like no, she definitely does. I think it's just more like at this point Anne Marcy is like no, we got to keep this group together. We got to keep this friendship together. That she's very much like she's saying like listen to your head, not your heart. But it's like I feel like Marcy's working with her heart here too. She's just using logic to like kind of like hide it because like they could eat like it's also a very good plan for Anne to just go with the planters and get the box.
I
Like,
mean,
oh, you
if
go,
she
sir.
is, I think she's hiding it from herself as well.
I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
what Marcy does is all about like trying to pretend she's being logical, even if there is a deeper motive, whether or not she's aware of it in herself. And in the end, she does kind of know that she's being selfish because she does let Anne go. I just think this episode is about Anne coming to terms with having to leave the planners behind, but there's kind of a more background element of Marcy coming to terms with the fact that she needs to leave Anne behind.
yeah, and like yeah, this whole scene is just great. I think it like demonstrates a lot more of like the toxic side of like of Marsan, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's again, it's one of those things where people don't really call that out. You know what I mean? Like Marcy's actively trying to keep Anne for herself and like not even though Anne can clearly stay with her frog family and it's like and she's just like dismissing her heart with logic. Like it's and Anne, who's like too nice to say no, like just goes with it, like and doesn't trust herself enough. And Marcy just kind of uses that, like, and yeah, like it's it's just great. I love this whole scene. Um, so like the planters are like very sad that they have to separate from Anne, and I love the tissue joke. I think that's great. Like I love that they bring the tissue with them too, like into the flagon. Like they didn't have to do that, but like it's
They're gonna need it for the ride home, right?
yeah. Is it just me or like is this establishing shot weird? Because like it says like it shows them like it has the establishing shot in like the hotel, but like they're clearly in the flagon too, right? Like
Oh
I don't
my
know, maybe
god!
that's
Wait. Oh god! Wait. Oh, yo. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Like that always drew me off. I'm like, they're clearly in the flagon. Like
Huh.
it is odd. Like
Also, wait. Has a flagon ever been that big? Wait, is this a flagon?
I
feel like
think
it's
it
too
is,
big.
right?
I
But
feel like it's
like
too
it's
big. I was
not
like,
the hotel, right? Because like
I think it
yeah.
it might be the hotel. Like, it just looks too big to be a flagon. I swear the flagon
You
was
got a
smaller.
picture?
Hold on, let me get it now.
Like, this is just a location that we don't know. Like, this is just like a random location we weren't really clearly introduced to. I don't know. It just does not look like the. Like, it really does not look like the flagon.
But it has like the I don't know, man. Like it looks like the flagon. Like hold on, let me see if I can get a screenshot. It's like because the hotel looked so different. Like it looked like all pretty and stuff, but then like here it's like hold on, let me get it now. Audience is like wondering what the hell's going on. Like hold on. Alright, there we go. Okay. Hopefully it shows. Like that looks like the flagon. Like that does not look like the hotel at all. The hotel is way cleaner than like whatever they're in now. Like
Weird. Like, I don't know. I don't even
yeah.
know.
Maybe that is because it has like it's got the mushroom lights and the kind of homey style that looks like it makes sense inside the
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 flagon.
the yeah.
Yeah, I think that takes out for it to be the flagon because that is not Utopia style.
Yeah, exactly.
It
But
might just
anyway,
be entirely because it doesn't really look like a flag.
Yeah. I mean, back to the episode. I mean, like, I don't know. It's damn it, man. I mean, this episode, like, they even before we got the hardest thing, we were always saying like this is sort of like a prototype for like what the separation could mean for this group. And I know we already talked about the hardest thing a lot with this episode. So it's just the fact that like it ended up being Anne's job in the finale, right? Like she became like a herpetologist and she works in an aquarium. Like like
it's great.
it's just damn. Like I just love how Day of the Aquarium like it gets that boost from how the series ended. Like, that's just damn.
Yeah, and with them at the aquarium itself, like I gotta say, like this whole environment like is so pretty. Like I'm not even sure what it is, but like just it's just beautiful. Like I love how they were able to make like a modern aquarium, but like still in that ancient utopia style. Like it's so distinct from the rest of the show, but like they really did a good job of making this place feel unique, but still like it's ancient, but yet still like beautiful at the same time, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean. And let me just say, like, god damn, part of my favorite, like, It's just the plane just constantly getting depressed is just like another one of my favorite parts of this episode. Like someone just says something like a little off and like boom. They're just reminded of their misery.
Yeah, like they're sensitive, like they're fragile emotional states. Like anything can just make them have like a terrible day in a second. And I just I love how well it's used in this episode because this episode's a callback episode, right? Like essentially, like
Yeah.
it's just callback after callback after callback. Like the first callback we get is like those eels that like Anne and Sprig dealt with in Flood, Sweat, and Tears. Like that was great. Like, and Hot Pop doesn't really get the importance of it at first until like Anne and Sprig start like reminiscing about it, and like
Yeah, like it's like moments like these, like this is because this episode is basically the halfway point with Amphibia. It is like a celebration of the story so far because like that's sort of like because we are because it's like man like there's I don't know there's just so much to it like there's a reason why they handled the episode like this. Like we're halfway through the story, we're reminiscing on like all the past adventures we had of this group, and the group is going and the group is testing what would it be like for them to have to split up and like there's a reason yeah like there's a reason why all this is happening. It's just I haven't like fully pieced that together myself yet, but like I don't know, man. I mean it all packs together for a really powerful punch of an episode. Like this is truly like I mean I already praised it, I'm saying it again, but this is just really one of Amphibia's best.
and we keep going through the episode and they see they're going through like a little hallway and they see like the Kraken that looked like the one Anne tried to cook in lily pad Thai, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different color from the one that was there though, so but yeah. But that's just great. Like again, I never said it on the podcast, but like lily pad Thai is like I love lily pad Thai.
No, I don't
I
blame you.
yeah.
It's like a really good episode.
Yeah, like I won't go too much on a tangent because it's not that episode, but I love it.
Man, the
And then they
plant is
kind
getting depressed again. Let's go.
of and then they
Like,
just kind of go crazy once they get to the choral part.
yeah, that's when they really start popping off. Like the show just loves them.
Yeah, like this whole episode feels kind of like mini 3B, like with the amount of like
Yeah,
3B had like all the all the callbacks and stuff, and like this episode is like just callback city, like yeah, just kind of letting you know what the Anne and the Planters have been through all these years. Well, all these years, all these months. Here we go. It feels like years though, but yeah, it's great. Like we get like the Hop Hops Kane Domino 2, like the couple at the
cannibal.
end.
The freaking cannibals. Like, oh, they run
Yeah,
the cannibal.
yeah. Like it's interesting
Rub,
because a lot of this stuff doesn't really come back. Like in terms of like, well, besides Domino 2, obviously, but like unless I'm wrong, right? Like a lot of the stuff that gets called back here, at least in this part specifically, doesn't really like come back in the like season 3, right?
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, not really. No, I think Grubhog. But I think
Yeah, Grubhog gets like a cameo. So
that's that. I'm not, yeah.
yeah. Um so like one of the purple security guard comes in, it's like you're like your sadness is like scaring like the kids. I don't know what that reference is to like the old lady knew whatever, like telling the other kids like no emotion. I feel like that's a reference to something that I don't get. Like yeah, I'm not really sure. But but yeah, like the security guard tells them like going to the Stingray show might cheer them up. Always cheers him up, and they're like, and the planters have never met any stingrays up to this point. So they kind of go to the show, and I forget like what would you call the person like taking control of like the all like not the wildlife but like all the animals and stuff there. I forget exactly what you would call them, but like
Yeah.
essentially, huh?
I'm not really sure. I'm sorry. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, essentially, she's like the showman, I guess. I'm not sure. Essentially, she's running the show. So like, she comes in like and asks for anyone to come down to like for the performance. Sprig's like, yeah, sure, and like they think it's going to be the stingrays, like that are going to be the ones like doing the show, but like she actually surprises them. It's actually the snake from like all the way from Best Franz, right? Different color, but like still like similar thing, you know. And like as soon as Sprig sees that, and Anne like, I love this scene because like
Yeah.
Sprig and Anne both realize like what it is, and they're both crying about it. And Hop Hop's like, Hop Hop doesn't know they've seen it because like,
Yeah, dude. No, that was just so sweet. Like the look that Sprig and Ann give to each other, and then Hop was just like, you get, I don't know, man. The piece just like Hop was like, you dang kids, always disobeying me. Like he starts crying because of that. It's like that is so sweet.
Oh,
And God, I'm going back over the look that Sprig and Ann give to each other. It's just so, I know it's sweet, kind of comical, but it's so powerful, man. Like it's like. Because this is like that was their first sort of adventure together alone, and like that was their kind of like our I mean I know like there's Anna Beast. I'm gonna call this I'm calling Best Franz the official buff of the friendship, right? Like I mean it is so like that's our first brand adventure, and like we know how like important that is to these two, and it's just man that powerful exchange like I don't know, it's hard to me for some reason. Like even so it's the kind of even so it's like kind of a joke. It's I don't know. Like I love how this episode it does play like their emotions as sort of like a joke, but it's also still like a very emotional episode. Like they struck at a really nice balance.
yeah, I think like, damn, that's good. I think what always is, I think I already mentioned it, but yeah, like Hop Pop, like not knowing like they went on that whole adventure is just so funny to me. Especially like considering Anne was always like, but in like season one, like eventually she would like in season two as well. Eventually, she kind of grew to a point where she would admit she did something wrong, or like even in when she doesn't have to, she'll always take responsibility of what she did, even if it doesn't like, even if she doesn't have to admit it, And like, I just find that funny that first adventure, Anne and Sprig didn't say shit to Hop Pop. They did not admit
Yeah,
anything, and like, it's just great. I love that. Um, So like, Sprig like messes up the performance. Snake gets scared and like now like Sprig's in the water with a bunch of like frog eating stingrays, you know, and we get like a really cool like action scene where like all the planters are essentially dealing with the stingrays in their own references, like we get that like blood, sweat, and tears like entire scene where like Anne and like Sprig are using the surfboard to like I forget what she says. Like, you set him up, and like Anne goes like, you set him up, and Spring goes like, and I'll knock him down. Like that's great.
Yeah.
Right? That whole portion is just, yeah, it's just a great like callback overall. And then like Hop Pop comes in, and he like they do like that little thing in like Big Bug Ball game where like Hop Pop puts his tongue around like Anne's arm, and then Anne like swings him like to the other side, which is great.
Yeah, God, like that's just my favorite part, like that scene where like I just love thinking about the fact that like Anne, she used to be super grossed out about like having their tongues anywhere near her, and now she's just like, you know what I mean? Like now she's just like Hop Pop, like let's do this, let's do the combo attack, and like did I mean like I don't know, that's just gross to me. Like that's one of my favorite. Like besides her getting used to eating bugs, like that's one of my favorite parts of her girl.
Yeah, and like I just love the synergy she has with all the planters. She just instantly knows what to do, like
Yeah,
with each and every one of them too. It's just it shows how much like they've grown. You know what I mean? It's great.
yeah.
And Polly like does the little like I forget which reference. Like I thought the spit was like maybe
That
a
was
reference to Girl Time, but oh, Pickle, you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
but oh, I was just saying I'm pretty sure that's girl time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's the spitting competition in there.
Oh, okay. I was making sure because like it's a little different than like how it's shown in that episode. You know what I mean? Like she's kind of doing a more hydro pump kind of situation. So like with this one, than like in the than in Girl Time itself, you know. But like yeah, that part's just great. Like, and then you know they shoot the stingrays out of the aquarium, which is actually a good thing for them. So I mean, they fought them, but like. No, it's a good victory for them, you know, for both of the planters and the stingrays. Um, and then like the planters like doing like a high five, like yeah, we did it, and then they get kicked out immediately.
Yeah.
Banned for life. And I love the Hop Hops like they got like a new memory for them to cherish forever. They didn't just like avoid the old ones. That was cute. I love that. Like, and then they all laugh it off, and then we cut back to in front of the hotel. It's sunset now, and now we get to the sad part. You know, like where like Anne is like helping the planters move out the hotel. You know, giving them all their stuff into the wagon, and yeah, like Anne is very much trying to prepare herself to kind of leave them forever. Marcy's like, have a safe trip back. Like, we'll just send like a messenger to get back the music box. And then, oh man, like Anne gives like this big, like, just like this, like, very like heartwarming hug. And, like, Anne's trying to like Hop Hop's trying to give hope. You know what I mean? Like we'll see each other again. Anne's like, will we though? When? And then it's man, this scene gets me, man. Like after the hardest
Yeah.
thing, like goddamn, like like even trying to explain it's hard. Like
Yeah.
uh,
That line, that line is just cruel. Like, family finds each other, right? Like,
yeah, and then that's referencing the hardest thing, and like I love even like the Anne and Hot Pop's goodbyes, like has very similar vibes to the hardest things goodbye too. Like Pop Pop is very much like hopeful that they'll see each other again, and then Anne's like, it's goddamn, it's great. um, and then like we get this. Fuck, man. I'm trying to do it like we get Spraying Against the World, and then they set off, right? And they give like a Anne and Spray give themselves like a nice little hug, and then they're off, and then we get like this beautiful scene in the sunset, like the planters drive off, and Marcy's trying to give like, it just made the most sense, like logical thing to do. And then at that moment, Marcy's like, she kind of feels bad and gives Anne like the chance to actually go with the planters. And like, I think even before we get to like, no, I'll keep going because I know we're gonna say a lot about the Marcy stuff in a bit, so I'll just keep going. Marcy lets Anne go, and she's like running through Newtopia. We get to see all like the Newtopia characters who we'll never see like again. Like,
They deserved a cameo in The Hardest Thing, at least.
they really did, like, or at least be a part of the rebellion. Like, God, like I know they kind of were, but like, like, yeah, like we it's crazy. We never really like we get to see these characters. Like Priscilla is like in the background in All In, but like, come on, like really, we never meet these characters again, and they're all like, yeah, like it's pretty much like after this point, even when we get back to Newtopia, we never get that same peaceful, fun kind of like element to it again. You know what I mean? Like this is it. Like once True Colors happens and we're back, like it's wartime and it gets all destroyed. So like, yeah. So like, Anne finally meets up with the planters, and you have like this gorgeous like shot of like Anne like in front of the sunset. I love that shot. It's just this entire like the lighting in general in this scene is beautiful. Like,
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
yeah.
I love the sunset.
Yeah, and Billy loves.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm coming with you to Wartwood. She gets back on the wagon, and like, yeah, and they set off, and yeah, like this, yeah, the lighting for this scene is great. Like, I just love that they gave you kind of like that feeling like they could be gone forever. Like, I know, like, logically, like, oh, that's not gonna, like, but like, it's such like this big thing of like separating in the planters, right? Like they never like even like besides at the end, it's such a huge thing of keeping them as like a full package, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's very like obvious when Anne and the planters aren't like with each other. Like if Anne's in an episode, the planters have to be with her, right? Usually, the only episode I think that isn't the case is like Sasha's Angels, and like that's it. Every other episode at least has a planter with Anne, and it's like the show kind of gives you that like maybe they're not gonna see each other again, but like it just like yeah, man, I don't know. This whole scene is just awesome, man.
Yeah,
It's so heartwarming.
And it really kind of felt like, especially because this was a mid-season finale, there was a good chance, at least like I felt, that we were not going to see the planters, like not for a while at least, and this was a goodbye.
I thought at most there was gonna be like 3 episodes where they weren't apart and then they reunite or something. I didn't think they were gonna apart them for too long because they are the core of the show. But I was sold on them like actually leaving for good in that episode, or not for actually leaving and not just being a bait and switch type thing.
Yeah, and I think like, oh, Nick, you can go, man.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like, I feel like back then I just kept I feel like I knew in my heart they wanted. I was thinking to myself like, nah, there's no way, right? They aren't gonna separate them because I feel like if they were gonna do it, they would have gone way harder. I mean, and they did. They eventually did. We know where. But like, yeah, I was thinking to myself like, yeah, there's. I feel like I got it. I got it. I was like, there's no way. They treated it as like a sort of like a joke in the first half. There's no way. Like I, like I can understand why other people did. Like it's just like because this episode does a really good damn job of thinking that you of making because yeah this episode does it like the way this episode handles this in so many different ways. Like yeah, I cannot blame anyone for thinking that it actually I'm separate because I mean my god like and this episode already celebrates so much of their journey so far that it's like the show is telling you yeah that was all awesome but now it's over and now it's time for them to separate. So I can't blame anyone for thinking opposite, but yeah, like back then I was just like, so like back then I was like, no way.
Yeah, and like, yeah, man. Sometimes I'm kind of glad like we never got to this episode before 3V because it's like there's so much to say like with um with like the hardest thing now, and it's just yeah, I got nothing but else to say, but yeah, it's great, and I love how well the show just gives it that gravitas. I think that's the right word. Like just with like the sunset itself and the music, it's beautiful. And then like they're riding to the sunset, and we cut back to Marcy. The sunset's going down, and like Andreas, like some ominous music comes in. you know, kind of like go with Marcy's insecurities here, knowing what she wants. Like he has a proposition for her, and she'll find it very interesting. And yeah, like I'm not even sure where to start with this, but like I think I'll just say one comment before I go on the whole thing, and you guys can kind of bounce off me here. But like, yeah, like it's the girls always have a choice, right? Like each time, like the girls want to do something, um, like the girls always have like what's the right word? Like, oh, and Lemur, yeah, you can come in. Like the girls never have like this thing where they are forced to change as people. Every single time the girls go through like some major development in their character, like it is always like their choice. And like Sasha and Marcy kind of go down like I don't know. The point is that like Marcy decides to make a choice to like instead of realizing that and like that separating from her friends is okay, that like having this change in their friendship is good. She actively like wants to not have that happen. And Andreas like noticing that drives into Marcy's insecurity. And in season 2, the girls have always picked the wrong choice in their development as characters. And like Sasha does it in Toadcatcher. She easily has the chance to like change as a person and be better and realize, oh yeah, maybe I'm kind of an asshole. Like maybe I should be nicer to Anne. And Marcy has the choice to be like, okay, maybe I have to accept the fact this friendship is going to change, and like separating is okay, and like, but they don't do it here, and that's what makes season 2 like such a strong second act because, yeah. So that's it.
To be honest, I'd say this is also partially Anne's poor decision. I don't doubt Anne's decision to go with the planters overall, just because she's right that there's no actual benefit in her staying with Marcy in terms of getting the box where it needs to be, and she can, for all she knows, she has all the time in the world with Marcy, and the planters are the ones she has to really hang out with before they go home. But it's kind of playing into stuff we more understand later, which is Anne and Sasha's sort of ignorance of Marcy's needs and wants. And so she has the choice to reach out to Marcy here and see that see that Marcy might be hurt by her decision, and even if she doesn't choose to stay behind, really be sensitive about it, but she very clearly chooses the planters and does not look back.
Pickle, you stole what I was gonna say. I'm just going back to here and thinking, how much was Anne thinking about this moment in particular when she was on that boat with Sasha and saying we weren't thinking about her interests at all. Maybe we were ignoring her needs as well. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That has gotta cause some ongoing crises.
Yeah. Referring to what you're to that scene in the beginning of the end, I know they're referring to that scene in with the sleepover when they fell asleep on the, but yeah, I don't think that's the only time that they ever quote unquote ignored Marcy's needs. Yeah, this is another example of that, and it may not be directly referenced to it, but I'm pretty sure it is implied that there are multiple times that they haven't really treated Marcy as a friend. And actually, here, I don't know if this has been mentioned in the podcast yet, but I also do think this is the point where Marcy is actually going, to be a pun, all in the idea of staying in Amphibia with her friends forever. Because I always thought that before this moment, she has always been for the idea of going back home and going back to the things to the way things were before. Because and I always thought that yeah, well, it is cool to be hanging around Utopia and stuff and such. I do believe that she does think that this isn't permanent and it isn't going to last forever. They have to go back home no matter what. So yeah, I do believe that she has always been for going. She has always been for the idea of going back home, but it wasn't until Andreas come in and gave the idea of the proposition where she actually goes back and goes all in that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there.
Yeah, and I think I always get man, it just kind of makes you think about because Marcy's story really is tragedy in Amphibia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She goes to this place to keep her friendships, to keep those relationships she had before, yet she constantly wants to cling on to those, but yet she never really has she just has Andreas, and all Andreas is doing is manipulating her and abusing her insecurities to get what he wants.
Well,
And then it's damn, man, and Anne just leaves her behind here. And I don't think Anne is trying to be mean here, but I think you guys are right that this is definitely a point I'm pretty sure Anne was thinking oh man, that's probably like when she was thinking about why Marcy would do this crazy plan, or like why would she do all this stuff in True Colors, like this is definitely a point where she started thinking about it. And like, fuck, man, I'm not even sure what to say. It's just like Marcy's story is just sad.
She never even had, yeah, she never had anybody, and the only person that she had is, well, Andreas does care for her, but it definitely
like,
isn't. It definitely has layers on it that behind that genuine concern is a motivation, or like a mission that is driving that affection.
yeah, and like, man, 'cause even like with Maddie, right? And Marcy and Maddie, you know, like they have like they're having some fun together, but that relationship like doesn't really. It's very surface level. It's like they're friends for like one episode, and then like that's it. Like Marcy is so much wanting to cling to these past relationships that she's actively not building stronger ones here, like Anne did or Sasha did. Anne and Sasha got like real friendship in Amphibia, and like Marcy, like, yeah, Andrea's cared about her, but it's like, you know, it still wasn't like the best friendship. You know what I mean? Like Marcy didn't get any of that shit.
Yeah,
It's
like
it's sad.
the only people that could have given it to her, who are Olivia and Yunan, she doesn't even know them that much. She knows that she only knows them surface level, and even like Marcy even acknowledged that in the hardest thing. Is like, yeah, it is her fault for not bonding enough with other people. She admits to that.
It's so sad that the only person she developed a strong bond with while in Amphibia was Andreas, of all people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because the sad thing about Olivia and Yunan too is that I feel like that episode kind of, this is a little bit of a different tangent from this episode, but like that episode kind of like gives you like a little sneak peek of like, like this could be like a really cool like different friend group for Marcy. Like they're already working together, like when fighting against the core and stuff in the basement, or the eyes. Yeah, it's the core fighting against. And it's like, but then like, you know, all of Marcy's mistakes and all the promise she made, like all come back to bite her with the core coming in. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, it's damn.
Really makes you wonder what would happen if Marcy actually, decided to actually get some new friends for once. Actually embracing the idea of change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, with this kind of stuff, there's like usually two really interesting things I like to think about. I mean, like the first one is just like the progress Marcy did make in Utopia, because it's not really directly mentioned, but I mean, Marcy did get used to the idea of like not having to like live around Anne and Sasha for a long time. Like she really got separated herself and managed to build like her own successful life. Anne and Sasha being there 24/7, and by the time Anne got to her, like she was fully prepared to just get the band back together and just head home. Right, like she wasn't even like trying to dip down any harder into fantasy at that point. Right, like Marcy was ready to go, man. Like I feel like that to me is like what just really hurts, because as soon as she gets like that sort of like temptation at the end of this arc, she just doubles down on like the behavior that sent them here in the first place. And like it's like when you get all the pieces together, that's what really paints a tragedy to me. Like just how, because Amphibia is like, because for the trio, like their point of being in Amphibia is like to reach the best selves. And to me, it's just, yeah, it really sucks how close Marcy was to like achieving a better version of herself until like one choice that day led her to ruin. And like, yeah, that's tough, man. It's tough. And the other thing I want to bring up, it's just like how Anne's development, sort of works this episode. Like, I always find it interesting just how quickly Anne just, dips. Like, as soon as Marcy gives her like the go ahead, like she just dips automatically. So, like, she just
blitzes out of Utopia. I know part of it's because he has to catch up with the plants, but still, I mean, like it's crazy to me, like that, that she just goes out and regrets. And I feel like, yeah, to me, like I also just kind of love that because it's like it is it's sort of like the subtext going on with the true relationship. And it's like the times are changing, right? Like they used to be her world. Like she used to mention them all the time in season one. Like they were like a framing device for her for like a lot of her troubles in season one. But like now, even so, she's on great terms with Marcy. We better compare to Sasha. She's just like, there's clearly a group that's way more important to her right now that she wants to spend time with, and like, yeah, like these ideas were always present in this story, and like, and the fact that it's even there with a character who's not even meant to be antagonistic towards Anne yet at that point, like it really tells you, what was going on in the two's relationship. If you're focused on it, like it's Anne is growing out of them. Like even the one that she has like a great relationship with, she's slowly growing out of that, and like I feel like I would sort of attach, how crappy our friendship was with. I mean, well, honestly, it wasn't even crap. They were still like a good friend group, and they just had like their really shitty moments, really, like right, like I mean, which is like yeah, no, just yeah, how a toxic friendship can work. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's just really because Anne just found herself to be happier around them, even when like even when she I mean, she didn't even like go out of her way to hang out that much with Marcy. Really, like she just like even when she was in Utopia, she spent most of her time just chilling at the planters. Man, I mean, like, and this is a friend that she didn't see for 3 months, a friend who she knew her entire life, and like, yeah, like that just tells you, man, like this kind of stuff was always there. Like this idea that these friends who knew each other are slowly splitting, like that was always there. That was always there in the story, and like like it's just telling, man. It's great. Like I just call it. It's just great material.
Yeah, I think Matt always did a great job of making sure, like, the trio's relationship is complicated as hell. You can't really say like, oh yeah, like Sasha's just the toxic one, or Anne's the toxic one. You can't do that. Like, there's so many facets to this relationship. Like, Anne leaves Marcy behind for the planters. Well, because the planters were kind of the only people that made her realize to love herself and be happy for who she is. And like, but then like that also causes this domino effect of Marcy, like, Anne doesn't realize like what leaving Marcy behind actually does to her. And like at the same time, it also causes Marcy to be vulnerable to manipulation from Andreas, yet it's still Marcy's fault. She chooses to follow that path. And it's just like, yeah, man, like the crew did such a good job, I think, of examining friendship so well. Like if this examining friendship and just yeah, it's so beautifully written when you really, really start thinking about it. Like it's yeah. Um so I think like we're pretty much done for that part and pretty much the whole episode. Um so do you
I
guys
guess we have like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh I was gonna say like Nick, do you have any
Oh, I was.
unless yeah, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I was gonna ask if we talk about Andreas and his proposition. Like, did we say
Oh
anything
no,
about
we didn't.
Andreas?
Oh, I guess like we just kind of talked about Marcy in relation to Andreas. Um I guess what I unless Nikki you wanted to just talk about it directly, I have a little something.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, this is, yeah, like I said before, like, this is just another one of Andreas's moments that just, sort of build up his role as like the major antagonist of the story, right? And like, yeah, it really like this is where they really started trying to set up, that Anne and Andreas foil, man. I mean, like, and like, see, back then, like, yeah, you really thought it was just him because yeah, back then, yeah, he was just feeding on like Marcy's insecurity and like pain in that moment.
right? Her vulnerability, but like, yeah, it really is interesting how yeah, while like yeah, Marcy and Andrews can relate to so much to each other. Like Andrews is really truly like like Andrews was always meant to be like Anne's enemy in a way. Like his her like her worst self, like her like the fallen hero like whatever people use to describe that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know, man. Like, I mean, they just did such a good job, Andreas. Like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, they just bravo.
Yeah, I never even thought about like this being like the point of Anne and Andreas, or like you're seeing the parallels. For me, I always saw it like I think like how I always thought of like their parallels like starting was True Colors. I never really thought about like this being the point where the show was establishing
Oh,
God, but
oh
like
yes, yeah. Sorry about that. So, that's what I meant. Sorry about that. Like,
oh
it's like I should have cleared. I should have made myself more clear. It's like I even know how to explain it now. But it's like yeah, like the parallels are made distinct in like True Colors, but like I guess what I meant was like the idea of like Andrea suffering that pain that Anne was going to eventually, suffer herself later on the season. Like that was supposed to be like like that's what I was sort of connecting. I actually made myself more clear.
I got you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's fine. Um, yeah, I mean, I really don't have much else to add to that. So I think like besides like yeah, like this scene again. Andrea's scenes always get better and better the more like you go through the show and come back. So this is just one of those scenes where you're like, in True Colors, after True Colors, you're thinking, oh, he was just manipulating her. But then like after like Olivia, Yuna, and Nakora and the King, you're like, he kind of got her pain a little bit, and I think that's just great.
Was he manipulating her? Yes. Was he speaking from experience? Also, yes.
Yeah, like that. Like that. See,
It's
that's just like
complicated.
the really cool thing about it. I mean, like, yeah, like I guess you can put them in the category of twist films, but like, yeah, a lot of stuff about Andrews was just extremely personal and like open, man. Like he wasn't like, yeah, a lot of it, like he was just hiding his darker side pretty much. He was always like, like he was always. I mean, yeah, there were some things he lied about, but like those personality wise, he was always genuine. Like he
Yeah,
never, no. Plus, he always projected this. I mean, listen, projection, man. He always projected his feelings onto those three. Like he was being nasty about that too, right? Like always like, ooh,
in True Colors, that's his whole thing. Like, he's just
yeah,
projecting his toxic viewpoint on the girls. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
like damn. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like damn. I don't know, man. Like I feel like yeah, that's easily one of my favorite. I feel like yeah, my favorite part of season two probably is just how there's like this. Is how they sort of build this grand plot in the background behind everything going on. Like that's just yeah, probably my like that's the coolest part of it for me on a rewatch. And like oh shoot, there's gonna be this other thing. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was like Christ. I feel like this is another testament to amphibious planning. Like I love how the decision for this day is like this is the domino piece, man. The first domino piece that led to everything in the second half of the story. Like not even just a season, but literally everything else that ever happened to the show was because of what Anne chose to do this day. And to me that's just insane.
yeah,
Like that
yeah.
one choice, that one bad day. Like was all we needed for like this tragedy to be set in place for Marcy. And then like this crazy ass war they had to fight in season three. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and like it's like it's the right word. I'm not sure how to describe it, but like it's weird because this episode doesn't get brought. Well, okay, it does come back technically with the aquarium stuff, but you don't really see Anne or Marcy or Anne mention this day like ever. But it's so like each of the girls makes one pivotal choice that changes their entire destiny right here. Like it's even like if Sasha, isn't here, but like even she makes a choice in in Toadcatcher that will determine her fate with Anne. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like they have ways to back out too. Like that's the thing. Like even when they make this choice, Sasha and Marcy always have like the ability to be like to just stop what they're doing and think about it and just like choose the right path. And it's just man.
That's always what makes morally ambiguous characters so good, when they have the ability to back out, but they choose to go deeper.
Yeah, and you see like those like this is the point too where like I feel like season 2 is like the point where we start seeing the cracks in armors of like Sasha especially, but Marcy and like 2B, like that's when we start seeing like all the things that we consider really good about her character, like her hyper focus and stuff, um or like her lack ability in making connections. All these things were like small details in 2A, and like 2B with both Sasha and Marcy fully dedicated to their destinies and like not willing to change, we see the cracks in both of these characters, and it's like 2B is like it's setting up that tragedy, and it's why we need season 3 to bring them back up, you know? But it's yeah. Um so I think that's pretty much it, right? So like I guess final thoughts here. Nick, any like final thoughts on these
Like, yeah, like I said before, I mean, like this is like if someone really asked me, like like what would to me like what would really represent the heart of the show, like I would absolutely just say like a day at the aquarium, like because I mean this is a series where like Anne and the Planters they came together and these two joining together and forming like this larger family. It put them down a road where they experienced things new and different that they never would like, and they changed in ways that they never would have without meeting one another. And it's just like I don't know, it's just such a special way in how they handle it. And like here in this episode, like it really just shows you how good of a job they did with it when like the whole episode just relies on like your investment and that like yeah it just wasn't an investment in the relationship and like yeah I don't know it just works so well for it and like I don't it's insane to me that like all that like there's all these interesting lore bits all this like interesting stuff you can like analyze like the talk and like the trio's toxic relationship but that's like used as a backdrop to support this family's relationship. Like you gotta love that, and like they do that in it. Like it's insane. Like there's all these other stuff that's so worth like people analyzing, and yet like I, f- I feel like yeah, I feel like they're like I don't know. This is like a whole new topic I could go into, but I'll do like another recording. But like yeah, I don't know. I just love this episode. I love it. Just it's Amphibia. It's one of the best examples. It's like if I had to go, if I had to show this show an Amphibia episode to a friend, like I did think Aquarium would definitely be one of my top picks because it just shows what I love about Amphibia so damn well.
thank you, Nick. Pickle, any final thoughts?
Honestly, Nick really summed it up for me. I think just this set of 2 episodes really does a perfect job of being the halfway point in the series because it kind of covers in whole what this show has been about so far. It's got the planters, it's got the relationship between the 3 girls, it's got the setup for the final villain just like really beginning to kick into gear, and it really just it's a great halfway point. It's a great tone to let off for the end of the Newtopia arc and the end of the first half of the show.
Thank you, Pickle. And I think like yeah, you guys really summed it up there. I love Day at the Aquarium. I I think like both of these segments are just really awesome like it's the essence of like Amphibia as a whole, of having these very fun and like chill moments with these characters, but also like when you really start sitting there and thinking about it, like they have such these deep and like there's a lot to just sink your teeth into with both of these episodes, and it just gets better and better as like the series progressed, and what we have now. It's the power of a pre-planned story, like pre-planned character arcs. It's beautiful. All right, so I think that's all for this one, guys. Thank you so much for coming, and say goodbye, everybody.
See you guys.
See ya.
Peace, y'all.